here we are again. Welcome to 75 Diaries. Sorry, just stirring the kitchen. Anyway, so I wanted to talk briefly about what's going on in Ukraine and what's going on in Ukraine is the result of what I now understand to be a pretty extreme advancement of the zombie disease. What's going on is the United States, zombies within the United States government are really fucking things up. Okay, they've created all this instability all over the world so that they can start a world war. You know, and let's make fucking movies come true. How's that sound? Huh? Yeah, World War Z, whatever, you know. Anyway, so how to talk about this? Of course, you realize I mostly do this to formulate my thoughts. You know, that's why I do these videos. But you know, this zombie disease, this psychopathy, advances. You know, moral reasoning goes bye-bye. You know, you just don't reason anymore. You're just completely, totally, utterly selfish. All you're concerned with is what's most important to you. Whatever your current addiction is, and that's what this is. Zombies are reduced to nothing but addicts. They're just addicted. And, you know, while most people in this country are addicted to watching TV or food or cigarettes or coffee, you know, our government, there are people within our government, especially our president, are addicted to power. So this zombie disease is manifesting as this addiction to power, and if you don't think Putin has it as well, you're just a zombie. So, you know, it's advancing so fast, so hard, so rapidly, so it's gotten to the point where I don't know, there's some kind of threshold getting reached or something like that. But I want to try and I think I need to think this through, that I'm trying to give you an idea of what's going to be happening. Well, let's think it through together. So what's going to happen in Russia and Crimea and Kiev and Ukraine and Europe and all that stuff? Well, shit, I can't formulate my thoughts, I'm sorry. Oh, I've mentioned this, welcome to Zombie Apocalypse Diaries. I've mentioned this before in previous episodes you probably haven't watched. But it's actually a difficulty that any broadcaster has, is who do you address? You know, who do you imagine you're speaking to? Do you imagine you're speaking to the entire audience? Or do you imagine you're speaking to a specific audience or a specific person? You know, who you're addressing, what are you addressing? And the answer to that has everything to do with what you're saying, everything to do with your message. So who I am addressing is who the message is for. And generally speaking, the message that I give, the people that I'm addressing, is everyone. Primarily secondary zombies, though. You know, primary zombies are really not someone I would speak to because they just don't listen. They won't listen. You know, I could talk to them until I was blue in the face, but they just wouldn't give a shit because, you know, they have their agenda. They know what they know, and that's the fact. The only way I can reach a primary zombie is to instill in them a sense of logic and have them follow through on an entire logical argument. For example, to demonstrate that, you know, acting to your own short-term benefit is acting to your own long-term detriment. You know, it's you can't ignore the long-term consequences. Sorry, I'm cleaning my screen here. Got crap on it. So anyway, you know, I'm. This message is going out to basically everybody. I guess primary zombies included. Yeah, it would include everybody. It would include primary zombies. Because the fact is that we are asking for what we were going to get, which is, you know, I'm guessing just off the top of my head, just based on what I know, what I've observed, and the calculations and observations and theories I've developed. My guesstimate is that we're looking at 10 years of of war, and I'm guessing about 5 billion people dead. You know, it's significant conflict. We have a situation where everyone, absolutely everybody hates each other. I mean, people within countries. You know, look at Ukraine. Ukraine is split into 3 camps now, essentially. You get the pro-American camp, the pro-Europe camp, the pro-Russian camp. You know, and some of that, you know, there's also an intermixing of the pro-Ukraine camp, you know, the nationalism camp, the nationalism attitude. And it's just, you know, there's this fervor of identity and disparate identity. The fact that, you know, we're identifying ourselves as different from each other. And the fact is, we're all the same. You know, that's what the beautiful truth is. The beautiful truth is the fact that, of course, that we are all the same. We are all part of a larger system. We are inseparable from each other. That any action we take that affects others affects us, and anything that affects ourselves also affects others. You know, we are inseparable from the system. So we have to take care of ourselves. And we have to take care of each other, because taking care of ourselves is taking care of each other, and taking care of each other is taking care of ourselves. So we have to treat each other as if we are, you know, all the same, because we are. Anything we do affects others. So, you know, this idea that we hate each other is just ridiculous. We depend on each other. You know, if we don't depend on each other, think about it. Come on. If we don't depend on each other, if we don't trust each other, we can't trust each other, and we have to fight with each other. We have to compete with each other. But if we just decide to cooperate with each other, we just work together, even if it's just 2 of us, even if it's just a pair, imagine how much more you can get done if it's just 2. How much more you can get done if you cooperate. Now imagine if it's everybody cooperating. Imagine if everybody has the same general goals. I don't mean specific goals. I mean general goals. I mean, obviously everybody's going to have the same general goal, which is, you know, in America, we enshrine that in the Constitution, or the Declaration of Independence is the Declaration of Independence is the rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You know, that's our common goal as Americans, to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. You know, or as this pursuit of happiness. But, you know, as a species, as a planet, we have one common goal, which is to survive and to flourish, to continually improve ourselves. And perception of improvement and improvement are not necessarily the same thing, especially when your perceptions are distorted. You know, excuse me. But again, the point here is that you know, we're not getting along with each other. We're all fighting with each other. We're at each other's throats. You know, that's because we can't see eye to eye. And again, there is a way for us to all see eye to eye, and that's to understand the beautiful truth that we are all part of the same system, that we are inseparable from each other, that anything that we do affects others, and anything we do that affects others then affects us. You know, because we are inseparable from each other. So just, you know, something to think about. Just ponder, you know, instead of thinking from your own perspective, instead of ignoring the long-term and even the short-term consequences of your actions on others, and then in turn on yourself, consider things. Consider the consequences, both short and long-term. Consider all the possible consequences. You know, that's what, to be honest, that's what Congress is supposed to be doing in debate. You know, that's what debate is. Debate is consequences. Debate over legislation, for example, is the consequences of that legislation. So Congress is supposed to sit down and discuss all the possible consequences, short and long term, all aspects of legislation that they draft. And it's supposed to be very carefully drafted by people that we choose to review this legislation, these documents that they create, to review these things for the consequences on us, to make sure that what is happening is what we intend. Well, that's what we're supposed to have. That's what democracy is. What we have isn't democracy. It's a joke. I mean, it's not what it's advertised to be. There's no way to really define it except by the practical manifestation of it, and that is fascism. Fascism is elitism, is corporatism. You know, Mussolini said it himself. He coined the phrase fascism, and he suggested that corporate control, fascism is corporate control. That corporations, these bodies of people, of committees, should have more intelligence, therefore be better able to make decisions for people's behalf. Well, that's preposterous. That's preposterous. Yes, it is potentially true, but only if the people are sufficiently motivated by universal ethics, by the beautiful truth. And no corporation is, because corporations operate under what paradigm? The paradigm of profit. The paradigm of profit is the same as paradigm of exploitation. So in what instance is exploitation beneficial to anybody but the individual who's doing the exploiting? So no, corporations cannot possibly be placed in charge, and yet that's exactly what they are. So, you think this is a joke show. You think this is just some guy spouting conspiracy theories and who's going nuts and saying, "Oh, it's really zombies. It's just zombies. Yeah, it's all just zombies. Yeah, he's a nutcase." No, I'm telling you the fucking truth. This is fact. Okay. You think zombies are what are pictured on TV. Okay, have you ever actually studied what a zombie is? You think you know, but you only know culturally. You don't have real knowledge. You have cultural wisdom, cultural awareness. You know what the culture says. And what the culture says zombies are. Of course, if zombies are in charge, they're going to dictate what the definition of zombie is so that you can't possibly think that they're one. So they're going to make zombies be these flesh-eating things. All they are is people who don't think. They're vacated bodies. They're soulless, mindless bodies. That's what psychopaths are. And that's what they're turning you into. And we're about to enter global conflict. It's going to kill all the wrong people. Because this World War, like every other before it, or both others before it, every other war before it, in fact, is just a game played by zombies fighting with each other over petty bullshit that has absolutely no meaning in the real sense of the meaning of life. And you're going to sit by and let it happen. You're going to completely ignore anything that I've had to say or anything logical and just lapse back into whatever you're told because something big's going on and someone else has more knowledge about it than you, so you're going to defer to their expertise and say, oh, well, yeah, they know what they're doing, the war is all their game, and I'll just sit back and watch and what happens. How dare you shirk your responsibility to your fellow man by allowing zombies to run a fucking war that kills us instead of them? You ever stop to think, what if I am right? What if I'm not bullshitting you? What if zombies are real? What if they are trying to start World War III? What if they are on the verge of creating a situation where 10 or 5 billion people over 10 years are going to fucking die horrible, painful, protracted, suffering deaths that don't have to happen? That could all be prevented if you just thought, what if he's right? Am I asking too much by asking you to think that? Fuck no. You came to my show. I don't charge anybody money for this show. I've put it up in the most convenient place I can. I write what I say elsewhere. I comment where I can. I tell people what I can in person. So the least you can do is pay attention to my efforts to communicate this to you. Because I'm going way out of my fucking way to try and get this message across. I'm not just spouting it on some forum or saying it in some comment or passing it under my breath. as a response to some pundit on TV or some shit, or in conversation or debate. No, I am addressing a massive audience. I am preparing this so that everybody in the world can view this and understand what I'm trying to communicate. The least you can do is ask yourself, what if this guy who's going through all this effort to tell us this stuff is right? Doesn't that make sense? What if? And here's the thing. You've watched this. You can't help but ask that question now. I've driven it into your head, and you can't get it out. You will have to ask yourself, what if he's right? Because now, when you look at the news, now when you look at the situations, now when you look at corporations, all you're going to see is what I've shown you. And you're going to ask yourself, subliminally even, maybe sometimes consciously, maybe sometimes you'll set aside your embarrassment at listening to that nutcase on YouTube, and you'll ask yourself, I wonder if these are the zombies he's talking about. I wonder if it might actually be true. Because trust me, I mean, you watched the first episodes of this thing before I realized it was true. You can tell. I thought it was bullshit. You know, come on, that first episode. God. So please, give it a shot. Think about it. Consciously think about it. And then act on it. And tell everybody else you know. And hey, you know, here's the thing about this show. If you don't like it, subject someone else to it. You know, I was actually thinking earlier today about trying to get some judge somewhere to force someone to watch this as punishment for a crime they commit or something like that. You know, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try and force someone to sit down and watch every episode of this. See what happens to them. It was a challenge. Yeah, there you go, a challenge. Anybody brave enough to watch every episode of this show, I challenge you to watch every episode of this show. If you watch every episode of this show, I will know. I will be able to know if someone is watching every episode of this show in order. In order. They have to be watched in order. That's how I'll know. Watch my analytics. If you watch every episode of this show in order, and then subscribe, or somehow other contact me, because there's information in there how to contact me. If you do all that, and you contact me, and you can criticize my show and tell me it's full of shit, I'm full of shit, and prove it to me, I'll give you an audience. I'll dedicate a show to you and answer your charges or whatever. But I'm saying this, I'm doing this because I know in all confidence that if you watch every episode of this show, you will come to understand what I have come to understand. So I can make that challenge in confidence. I just want this world fixed, that's all.